You know the truth, and what you know will set you free. Freedom comes from what you know. There are many of us who are free, but we don't know it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Uniquely Designed. If you've ever wondered why sometimes in the interviews or our conversations, I sometimes refer to TLs or loud thinkers, LTs, or thinking out loud, and you're confused as if I'm having a schizophrenic moment and I can't really remember what I'm talking about, it is because earlier, I initially, when I recorded some of these conversations, was going to call it that, and then realized that it was overly populated with that title, so I went and changed it to Uniquely Designed, which I felt seemed to fit more of the platform that we were looking for in the content and the conversation. So if you hear me say that, it won't be that in season 2, but that's why there's a lot of references to that. I just want to clear that up because some of you had asked, what exactly is it called? So I want to take this moment and thank all of you for tuning in. I really appreciate you for your comments, your not commenting or your viewing or sharing, all that type of stuff. I really appreciate it because there's many different platforms that you could be watching, many different, or you could be listening to, and you listen to or watch, share, go back and watch again or listen again, and I appreciate it. Today's content, today's episode is going to be with one of all of them are connected to me in some way, and I'm really grateful that I get to share some of my relationships that I've had with them for years with you. Shonda B. White, Shonda Brown White. She is a content creator. She is a best-selling author. She is a friend, but we have a very great conversation. You'll hear us joking a lot because that is the nature of our relationship. But she's doing wonderful things. You've heard of her. You've seen her. She hosts a show weekly. I don't know if it's weekly, but she hosts a show called Wives Wind Down. I've never been invited on that because I'm not a wife, but many women do tune into that, and they talk about great things as it relates to relationships, and her platform deals with empowering women. So without any further ado, I want to go right into our conversation right now with Shonda White. Go ahead, do me a favor, share this, go ahead and screenshot it, post it in your stories, and let somebody know it's time for us to go into another episode of Uniquely Designed. I'm talking to somebody that one needs no introduction because one, she just reached 10K followers on the IG non-denominational church for all people. She just got 10,000 disciples, people who just gave their lives. She has 10,000 disciples. So will you help me welcome Shonda to the platform? Hi, Shonda.
I'm not doing this with you today, Mario. Hi, thank you for having me. You're so crazy.
Let me tell y'all how long Shonda and I have known each other.
Too long, Lord.
Don't say too long, Lord. We've known each other so long that she remembers when we used to have home economics in school. I don't think it was home economics. I don't know what class that was. But anyhow, where when I was 16 or something like that, I think, or whatever, I gave Shonda my business card.
Because you were so important. You were in high demand. We need you to direct here. We need you to direct here. You're young Kirk Franklin before there was Kirk Franklin.
So for all of y'all who think that I just became like this, oh no. I've been practicing for a very long time. I have been doing it. So when you think back to our teenage years, young adult years, or whatever, do you believe that it has shaped some of the way of which you live now? Like even, for instance, like, of course you have a platform, you speak to women, and yes, you do the Wives Wind Down. Of course, I've never been invited to that. I'm not a wife, but all those different things. But being in the public, those of you who don't know, let me tell you this real fun fact. Some of y'all didn't know, Shonda used to direct choirs. Huh. So y'all see her with the wine now, but she used to have the Bible. She put down the Bible and picked up the wine. See, I know when she was saved. See, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Sorry about my salvation now.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But how do you feel that your upbringing, in whatever regard, whatever you want to pick, has helped to shape who you are now?
Well, 100%, I think it shaped who I was. Obviously, when I think about being a director, if you're a director, you have to have like some gumption about you, some courage, especially, when I started, I was like 13 directing a mass choir. And so mass choir is usually more seasoned adult folks. And so I don't know what came upon me. Obviously, it was a gift that God gave me, but even to still do that, accept that, and to do that, you have to have some type of leadership and some type of inner like boldness to say, yeah, I think I could direct these people. Like, so what? I'm 13 years old. Like, and to gain that trust. And I think that's just something that has always been ingrained in me, like having that trust, being a person that is comfortable regardless of the situation, whether we at church and we want to be church, or whether we on Wise Wine Down, we want to have a little glass of wine and just like wind down. Like, I feel like I know how to navigate those different avenues. And coming up, where we grew up in a small city, sometimes it's hard to think beyond where you are and beyond like your circumstance or your situation. But one thing that I love is that I've always been able to see myself beyond where I was. Call it vision, call it dreaming. I dream a lot. I think that's why I love the story of Joseph. Like, I'm like, I need that dream interpreter because I have very vivid dreams sometimes. Some of them sound more like nightmares and they're crazy and I just need to get some meaning. But whether they're a nightmare or whether it's just a dream, I've always been a dreamer. I've always been able to like see beyond. I love that you call us, the thinkers, thinking out loud.
Loud thinkers.
Loud thinkers. Yes. I love that you call us that because that is me. And it always has been. And I've always been able to see myself outside of a small city, and just expanding my life. Even when I was younger, I was like, I'm moving to Atlanta. And I even said like, my husband's in Atlanta. And through manifestation, somehow, I didn't know what I was talking about then, like growing up, but apparently the Lord had put something in my spirit to say like, yeah, I do want you to live there. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with what I saw in terms of more people that looked like me, more Black people. And so it made me feel more
There's lots of Black people in Kentucky. What are you talking about?
Okay. When I got married, my husband was like, I'm gonna be honest, babe. I didn't think there was a lot of Black people in Kentucky. And I was like, really? Is that what we're doing? So y'all just think we're not in Kentucky? Is that what y'all think?
I remember when I moved to Mississippi, I lived there for about 9.5 years. I think it was around that time. And I remember someone saying, they said, no offense. They said, but are there Black people in Kentucky? I'm like, obviously I'm one. I mean, there might be few. And which is funny because the community is small. So when you do see, I hate to say it, another one, you almost like, now, where are you from? Who's your people? Who's your mama? Who's your daddy? What school you graduate from? And when they say, I'm from Detroit. Oh, okay. Well, are you here? Work sent you here? You can know whatever, because we're trying to figure out like Kentucky of all places, you chose here, you chose horses. That's where you wanted to be. Yeah.
I love it. I love like, even though I knew I wanted to leave, and go elsewhere, it's still my home. Like it still is my heart. I will represent it to the day I die. And it's some good, genuine people in Kentucky. I mean, it's where our families are, but just even being raised in church, like your church family becomes your family. That's something my husband could not comprehend. He's like, now what? Wait a minute. And I'm like, your church family with us, it becomes your family, like period. It just does.
Okay, then let's talk about that, because I do know that there's some of you who are listening or watching and might not be as, every conversation I have, I always try not for it to go in the direction that it always winds up going in, but it just happens. I guess this is the loud thinking that happens. Do you feel that the community aspect that you grew up with, because once you were not just thrust into leadership, just directing choirs, but you've been influencing for a long time. You've been an influencer before there was social media. You were influenced in some regard, in some way, maybe even if we didn't call it that at that time. But that community piece, village, shaped a lot of how we were navigating the waters, being in front and doing different things. Do you feel that that community piece in some regard has shifted now and is not um, as hands on as it used to be? Or do you feel like it's still there, just not as visible as before?
Yeah, I think I think it's definitely different. I do think that it's still there. It's just in a different way. Um, for instance, I might not be able to influence first of all, we all have influence, whether you're on social media or not, whether you're married or not, like you have some type of influence over someone. Someone's watching you, someone is looking up to you. So I believe we all have influence.
And I think it's important that you said that because there's a lot of people who say, and sometimes I hear some people try to criticize people that are, they all here trying to make a name for themselves and they, all these different types of things. And I'm like, not all. I believe that a lot of people, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, YouTube, whatever, only amplified who they already were or what they were already doing and how they were already influencing. So what you said, everybody has influence. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So I believe that what you said, I think needed to be said again for a lot of people who,
Oh,
whatever level you're on, whatever that is, if you're a school bus driver, if you're the one who's helping the kids in the cafeteria, I mean, you're influencing and having an impact on people.
100%, because whatever you do influences, obviously now whether you have a negative or positive influence, that's up to you. But regardless, it's like what how you live your life says a lot about you, says a lot about your morals and beliefs. So it's something that I take seriously. So now it's like, okay, maybe us growing up, we were at church all the time, or there was church outings, we had church conventions, we had sleepovers. I can't believe we were doing having sleepovers, but yeah,
Can
we
you
was having
believe that? It
like
sounds so
it,
archaic now. It's
right? It
just,
does. But at the same time, so it's like, okay, I might not be able to directly impact someone like that, but through my post, like if I'm posting something, if I make a video, what am I portraying out there? And what's most important though is not so much like what am I portraying or putting out there, because I do believe in like, encouraging and empowering women through life and love, real talk, but it's also about like, what does that message say and how can I shine the light on God, because I want to be authentically me. So at the end of the day, if a young wife is watching Wives Wind Down, I want her to feel like I'm not by myself. Because that's another thing about the generations coming after, to your question, is like it's different in terms of how you can influence people. That community is the community now is like almost online, almost exclusively online. And so it's like finding that community and finding people that you relate to is so important. But that's kind of like how we're doing it now. So like if a young wife is watching Wives Wind Down, she needs to know, and she wants me to be real. They don't want that let's have a talk, but don't tell me everything. This generation coming after us, even starting with in our generation, we want the real deal. So if she's watching an episode, I want her to feel like, you know what, Shonda is keeping it real about what it really takes to be married. If she's reading one of my books, I want them to like feel the passion and feel like, you know what, yes, I'm married now, but I went through some things before I was married and when I was single. So that influence it's still there. It always has been. It's just in a different light. And our idea of community has changed drastically, obviously, because of technology and social media. So we just have to be aware of that, and how we put things out. And especially for us, I feel like we had community back then, but we also had a lot of secrets. And now I feel like even though communities have shifted, people are still finding their communities because they're like, oh, she's being transparent. She's being honest, or he's being transparent. He's actually sharing what he's thinking versus having a community, but still, even within that community, you feel like there's just a whole bunch of secrets. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about in terms of like that influence. And, at the end of the day, we can't get caught up in like, how many followers do I have? Who's following me? I want to build it. It's like at the end of the day, am I following what God has called me to do? Like, am I following his plan for my life? Then the people will come. If you relate to people, people will want to follow you, quote unquote, or they will want to aspire. And there's a difference between like aspire and being influenced versus like wanting to imitate your life.
Mm.
Like that's different. But having that positive influence, being aware of, if I am going to be on social media, this is how I want to present myself. This is what I want to promote. And this is what I want to encourage amongst those who choose to follow me and come along this journey of life with me.
Yeah, because there is a difference in community and concentration camps. Where one is for the development of each other and village, and the other one is what happens here stays here, and no one else knows what's going on in here. And so that was very good. Yeah, that was good. I wanted to point out something real quick. We really must love Kentucky because we got these trees things going on. I just thought about that. I said, you know what? This let me find out agriculture is on this. I was
It
just
is.
looking at it.
Kentucky is beautiful though. Eric, every time we go home, Eric's like, Kentucky really is beautiful. I know. I lived here.
Listen. Do you believe that, or let me not just believe, how do you feel leaving Kentucky? You have books that are out. Of course, we talked about your 10,000 disciples that you have. We talked about Wives Wind Down, all these different influence areas, Ricky Smiley, different things that you've done. Do you feel that creating or a circle around you helped you to step out of your comfort zone? Or was it stepping out of your comfort zone that caused you to get a circle that helped to support you?
That's a great question. I think that it's a combination because one thing about being a creative and stepping out of your comfort zone is that you almost have to also be ready to sign up for isolation because everybody ain't going to get what God has for you. They're not going to get it. Everybody's not going to understand what God tells you and speaks to you. And so sometimes, and for me, in a lot of cases, it has caused a lot of isolation because people may not get it. Even with my husband, he is my biggest supporter and I love him to pieces. He is completely wired differently. He's like type A, whereas I'm like creative all over the place, which is a good balance for marriage. For us, it's a good balance. But there have been times when it's like he didn't even with my greenery back here, he didn't see the vision at first. I was like, babe, just imagine, just wait. And he put it up for me, put up my sign and everything. But at first he was like, now you want to do what? And I was like, just go with me, just go. It's, and then once he saw it, he's like, babe, it's incredible. But that's the same thing when it comes to dreams and just being a creative. And so there were times where I've isolated myself from other people because I know like if I tell her she's not gonna, people project their fear and their reservations onto you. And so you have to be mindful of that and cognizant of it. I remember I told a girlfriend just recently, she's writing a book. And I told her, I said, one piece of advice I have to tell you, like, everybody ain't gonna get it. I was like, and don't take it personal. And she was like almost in tears because she was like, how did you know that? She's like, I've already experienced that and I haven't. I said, because I know. I said, because it's happened to me. Like you tell somebody, you get hyped up, you're like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to start this podcast. I'm like, podcast? You ain't never done no podcast. Host? You want a host? What's your podcast? How you going to have time? It's just the questions start rolling and rolling and rolling. And again, it's just people projecting their fear and their unwillingness to be uncomfortable. So like you have to be comfortable. I think Lovey says you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so once you get into your zone and then once you make the magic happen, whatever that is, then you find people and like-minded people who you can have conversations with and you can talk to them like, yeah, I'm thinking about this, who will actually have, they're like, oh, well, did you think about this? Versus like telling you all the reasons why you can't do it. They'll like offer up suggestions or even just encouragement and support versus projecting the fear. Because you already have the fear. You're like, I don't need any more fear from you. I'm already pushing through that every single day. Every single post I put up, I am pushing through fear like, send post, like, I don't know.
So so I want to talk deeper about how long it took you to get there. Because even my shirt, my different things that I use to the more than a preacher. I remember when my team, we were talking through and talking branding and asking questions and different things, and it was like what tagline and whatever. And I remember we debated over and over again about the more than a preacher thing, because I was just like, I don't know if I want to stand in that, because if I say that, the people gonna be like, so what you trying to say? You more than, I mean, like being a servant of God ain't enough, all that type of stuff. But the essence of it was, or the creative nature behind it was, you're more than a label. Like, you're not just one thing, and who you are represents multiple different things. But sometimes you allow people to put you in this particular lane, in that lane only. But you're more than that. Like, yes, that could be your call, but you can preach through that and preach through that and preach through that, or whatever, and expand. And I had to stand in that. And I was like, you know what? I am more than that. I am more, but it took people helping me talk through that and walk through it, to stand there like, it's okay. I'm not, yeah, I love him with all my heart, my soul, my mind, whatever. But he didn't just create me for one lane just to be in that one thing. So I want to talk to you, because I'm 41. So I want to talk to you. How long did it take you? You know what? I remember, side note, I remember, side note, I was thinking I remember years ago, when they had Waiting to Exhale. And I remember Whitney, bless her heart, moment of silence. Whitney, she said they were 40. They had just turned 40. They were all drinking wine. They were sitting in the floor. And she said, because I'm 40, she said, and I still look good. And they didn't say that. She said, and I still look good. And I was thinking about that. When I was growing up, 40s and 30s did not look appealing. But now it looks completely different than it used to look like. So anyhow, I just want to throw that in there for a minute. Shout out to Waiting to Exhale. You need another one. Well, don't do another one. Leave it alone. So how long did that journey take for you to get to a resolve?
I think it's just a part of the journey. I think in terms of when I became more comfortable, after you've told enough people, after people shoot down your dreams, and or they question them, you don't really need to go through it for a long time. You just make a mental note. You're like, won't do that again. Won't call them about that again. Won't tell them, like, and then people will be like, girl, you didn't tell me you was, well, now you know. I didn't know you was starting to. But now I have like a really core group. Like even with Wives Wind Down, I was like sharing like the name. I was like going back and forth about the name and stuff. And I had like a core group. Some of our mutual friends, it was about like 5 or 6 that I just reached out to personally, because I knew I could trust them with this gift and this vision that God had given me. And so sometimes you don't even need that, because sometimes God will speak to you and give you things, and it ain't for everybody else. It's for you and for Him. And so once you've done that, and if people break your heart, it doesn't even, for me, I think it probably took, I can't like give a timetable, but it definitely didn't take me long to like realize it. It probably took a few tries where I was like, might have tried with this person and then tried with another person. But ultimately I had to get comfortable with just like, at the end of the day, I don't need anybody else to affirm what God has already confirmed within me, like, period. So what's most important now is like making sure that what I heard from God is from God, versus, so by the time I come to share it with you, the decision's probably already been made. I'm just kind of telling you as like a FYI, like, by the way, I've been thinking about starting a podcast and this was going to be called. Now I might ask for your opinion or two, maybe to like fine tune some things, but beyond that, it's like, no, this is what me and the Lord have decided, and this is how I'm going to execute the plan.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now. But yeah, it did take some time to kind of like get comfortable with that. Because, like I say, being a creative and just doing something differently from someone else takes a lot of just courage and like putting yourself out there. It just takes a lot. So it just takes some time. But when it happens, if it takes 1 or 2 times, listen to that and then like plan accordingly and say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to keep this between me and the Lord for now,
Yeah.
or find that core group that you can trust.
Yeah, I've learned over and over again, oftentimes, that most of my greatest ideas never get spoken out loud. Some things are just, you know, you find out later and like, I didn't know you were. I remember my parents, I remember they were upset with me when I did my children's book and I came out with it. And I remember, I don't know, it's my dad or my mom saying, we didn't even know you was writing a book. I didn't know I needed to have a family meeting about it, but I just went ahead and did it. Do you like it or you do not? That's all I need to know. But I knew what they were saying, but I had shared enough things that eventually led to me talking myself out of it, that I knew I could not do that anymore. That it was best for me to just do it, and it was best for me to just complete it, even if it wasn't about everybody it being a bestseller or anything, but it was just about me doing it and being obedient to it. I had to, for me, and there have been more times than not in this stage of my life that I've been like, you know what? I can't wait for a bunch of permission now. I just need to just go ahead and do what it is that I need to do, what I feel drawn to, what I feel led to, even if it doesn't make sense. So I think that was good, what you said.
At
Um,
that point, um, I've also learned that like you get so much more peace about, like, once you've confirmed with God, like that's the end all be all, because there have been times where I chased stuff. I chased what I thought I was supposed to be doing, even things that other people thought, oh girl, you should start a podcast, you should do this. There were a lot of external fact right before I even started going to therapy. That was part of my anxiety, because people were telling me all the stuff I needed to be doing, and people are always like, what's next, what's next, what are you going to do? And I didn't know, because I couldn't hear, but I couldn't hear from God. That was the problem. And so everybody was telling me what they thought I should be doing. Then you're looking at social media like, well, maybe I should try that. Or maybe they have all these followers. Maybe I should. And it's like, that ain't what God was calling me to do. So I had to really get quiet and sit with myself and talk to God to figure out, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And then once you have that peace, and once you're able to like come to terms with that, it's so much more easier. Things start to flow. You just got to use what you got to get what you want, and you got to use what God gave you, basically. Because if you spend so much time chasing after something, it's like a recipe for disaster.
Let me tell you what has been a common theme in every single conversation that I've had that has not been scripted, well, none of it's scripted, is therapy. It has come up every single time. I have not asked about it. I haven't alluded to it. It has come up every single time. And of course, I am a proud proponent of it. I go to therapy myself. I love God and a couch. I believe it in all day long. Um, I don't know why that seems to be the overarching thing that continues to come up. What is it about therapy, or when did that click that you like, I need to process things to learn myself and to be able to come into grips with how things try to shape me, and that's not who I was, whatever. When did that click for you, or what led you to that?
Oh Lord, and then Mario,
Yeah.
that that was a journey. All I know is by the time I started, I was like, why did I wait so long,
I
Lord?
know, I know, I know.
Woo, woo, woo. But that was a tough journey. It was a lot going on in my life at the moment. What was interesting is that was one of the reasons why I almost didn't go this when I started. My life it was making sense in terms of, what success is supposed to look like. Happily married, not just married, but happily married, had a job. Now I realized after the fact it was a toxic work situation that I was in. Had a job, working fine, getting paid, great money, all the things, as they like to say. But my spirit was not right within. I had a lot of anxiety. It was just a lot going on, and some of that anxiety contributed to like feeling this pressure of, I gotta put on for the world, and people are looking at my social media. Da, da, da. It's like I gotta encourage the people, and but at that point I was like, I can't encourage anyone, because my cup is empty. I don't have anything else to give, and I don't know why I feel like this. So it was really my husband that was like, babe, you need to go see somebody. And I finally did. And that's when it happened. But I should have went like a long time ago, especially like when my grandfather passed in 2013. I had like a panic attack, and I had like two or three since then. I didn't know what was going on. They say you feel like you're having a heart attack, and you do, because you don't know what's going on. And so I should have started way back then. And fast forward, I didn't even start till like 2018, 2019. But I'm thankful for that, because I know that I wouldn't have got through this, pandemic if it hadn't been. I wouldn't have been more at peace. But I think it's just there's an awakening that happens within yourself where you realize, okay, I need to do some self work. Like, this is not normal to feel like this, and it's okay to pray and go to therapy. So I had a really come, because we churched, pray your way through, but I had to say, okay, this something's got to give. Like, I need to go talk this. I don't know why I'm this way. I don't know why I keep saying yes and why I struggle to say no. And my schedule's full and I got three things to do on a Saturday, and then I'm crying because like, then I was able to like really do that work to go, oh, that's why I'm a people pleaser. Now I'm a recovering people pleaser, but
Yes.
that's why I do that. Okay, so that's how that therapy journey was for me. And
Yeah.
what a journey it's been.
Yeah, it is the greatest thing. Your content is mostly geared towards relationships and marriage, wives, the healthiness of it, and you're not shaming. I mean, of course, there's a lot of people who post things about how bad it is and how worse it is and how they want to put people to sleep at night and all that type of stuff. You're doing the exact opposite of that. What led you to even your book, your first one, your very first one, what led you down that path, just to encourage people who are married at whatever stage and to share your journey and to share how you continue to evolve and even talk to different wives every single week. What led you to that?
They always say you want what you don't have or what you didn't have. And for me, anything that it's a lot of it is just like a manifestation of like giving people what I wanted when I was younger, when I was single. So that's why I wrote Don't Be a Wife to Boyfriend, because I was like, I need somebody to talk to me about the single journey. Like, why do I feel this way? Why do I keep dating these terrible guys? Or why do they keep cheating? Like, it was just a lot. So I'm like, I know there's women who can relate to my stories, because a lot of times we go through the same types of things. And the same thing with marriage. We hear so much about, how to get a man and all this stuff. And like, when it comes to marriage, it's like everybody gets married and then it's like, shh, everybody's like quiet. But you're like, well, what do I do now? Like, once you get married, you're like, well, what do I do? Like, what does it mean to be a wife? There's no rule book to it, but sometimes it's just so encouraging to hear other people's stories to say like, oh yeah, your first year might be the worst year ever, and you might question, why did I get married? Like, so I wanted to be that voice to keep it real and to be honest, because I didn't necessarily have that. My mom was never married. I love her to death. She's so amazing. She was never married, so she couldn't really talk to me from that point of view. I didn't see it really. And so I wanted to give that. Once I got married, I was like, it's so important to see those positive images, especially when it comes to Black love. I love Black love. And it's so important to see that, because otherwise it's a lot of foolishness and a lot of mess out there and a lot of noise that just spews negativity. And I wanted to show like, no, marriage can actually be very fun, because you always hear these things about like when you get married, it's monotonous and it's boring. And I'm like, who are these people? Like, that is not my experience. And so if we normalize that more, and if we normalize like marriage can be great and you can still have disagreements, like it's all about the yes and. You can be single and satisfied. You can be single and flourishing. You can be married and having fun. Like, I wanted to normalize those conversations, especially, just throwing it out there when it comes to church. We hear so much negativity about sex. And then you get married and you're like, okay, now I have to like switch my brain to be like, which, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of us probably had sex before marriage, including myself. But
No, no, they did not.
You know what? But
No.
it's like once you get married,
No, people at prayer meeting, people are doing Bible study,
yeah,
people
all
are
right.
seeking the Lord. I don't know what church did you go to? I don't know anybody. I know no one, including myself, who was doing anything that was relatively immoral or unchaste. I mean,
And those
uh,
were the lies that we
we
were
were
told.
walking around seeking his face while he may be found, fleeing youthful lust. And we were calling upon the name, rebuking the demonic, lustful ways of our things that were trying to draw us in. No, we were not at lock ins and we were not on the back of the bus holding hands with the
All
opposite.
right.
None of those things. That just lies. Those of you who are tuned in right now, I don't want to encourage. That never happened. The church I was raised in, I mean, everybody was chaste. I mean, they all
Oh,
wore white to their weddings, all of them.
so you just gonna lie to the people like that?
Where's the lie? Where
So
is it?
for those of you all who like to keep it real, let's be honest. Sometimes we, always have negative things, because I'm your girl, Shonda. I'm gonna keep it real, which I don't know what Mario's talking about. But
I'm
all I
talking
know,
for the people. I'm not talking for me. I just want you to, I want the people.
anyway, all
Yeah,
I'm
so I,
saying,
I understand. That's
I'm
very good.
having I'm having those real honest
You
conversations. So
are, and we appreciate them.
yeah, so we can
I
normalize.
wish someone would have said it to us. I wish the deacons would have told us what they were doing. I would do. I wish they would have told us. I wish they would have told us that the deaconess wasn't the only one. I wish they would have told us. But anyhow, go ahead. Thank you.
I was done, not the deacons though.
They're singing "Trust in the Lord," and it
Deacons were
wasn't it.
asleep. The deacons were asleep half the time.
They would sleep in church. They wouldn't sleep on Saturday night.
They would sleep on Sunday because
That's why they would sleep. They were like, "I'm gonna stay on this battlefield." But anyhow, all right, all
oh,
right.
we love you, deacons.
All right. But anyhow, we thank God for the content of what you have created because it is, I mean, because there are so many horror stories and oftentimes the planes that crash always make the headlines and not the planes that land. So you're always going to hear about the horror and the bad part and not the celebrated part, and that you said, that's funny part when you said people get married and they're like, shh. That's the funny. I mean, but it's true. So many people get married just like they go into hiding. Just like under witness protection program. Don't say nothing. Don't say a word. You sit here and you smile, and we take our annual family picture. Like,
Yeah. You're like,
so
and I'm sitting there like, well, how's it going? Like, how is marriage? How's it going for you? Our first year, I was petrified. I was like, I don't know how to do this wife thing, and it's different for everybody. But when you start to have those little arguments and stuff, you can feel like your world is crumbling because you're like, are we supposed to be arguing like this? Like, and it can be so intimidating until you talk to other people. They're like, oh, you'll be fine. Da, da, da. And I'm sitting there like, well, why didn't anybody say anything? Not that you can be warned about everything, but at least if you know, like, this is fairly normal. This is reasonable, not like the outlandish stuff, but this is part of marriage, like the growing pains and like knowing that someone got through a situation. Like, that's just so encouraging and just empowering for me.
yeah, well, of course, being a part of the beloved Divine Nine, which your husband is a part of, he chose other parts, but we do give him a shout out and we do thank God for him. But being a part of that, how has being a part of the wonderful Divine Nine, even the supports and sisterhood that has come from that, even helped to expand your platform in what you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've definitely created or I've gained like just an additional support system and sisterhood when it comes to my sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you very much. But yeah, just having them, and obviously you're closer to some people than others, and so I have sorors who I know I can call, and like we were talking about earlier, those people that you can actually talk to and like run ideas off of, and or run ideas by and stuff, and so having that support it means the world because people will either ignite your dreams or they'll ignore them, one or the other. So they'll either encourage you or push you, or they'll just sit back and be like, yeah, okay, girl, and you just be like, well, it is what it is. And so having,
People will either ignite your dreams or ignore them.
I don't want anyone else to, that feeling that you have when it happens, if I can prevent it as much as possible, or at least prepare someone, that is my goal,
The
because
door of the church has
it
been
hurts.
officially opened. Ignite or ignore. That is just, that is loaded.
Mhm.
Because I would almost, I mean, for you to say they will ignite or ignore it, ignite means, of course, they will encourage it, rally around it, lift it up. If they can't hurt you, they're not gonna. I mean, if they can help you, they're not gonna hurt you. But to ignore is almost, in a sense, as if what you just said or what you're doing doesn't even matter. That's worse. It's to, yeah, that was good. That was very good. Yeah, I knew God was going to do something great in your life. That was good.
Well, thank you.
So
I mean it.
that was good. So as we wrap this thing up, here's some on the spot questions. Obviously, I didn't ask you anything that I thought I was going to ask you, so it didn't even happen. So here's on the spot. What is on your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
On my bucket list, there's so many things I have, but obviously a lot more travel. Like I definitely need to get my travel up. Obviously COVID ruined a lot of that, but there's a lot more traveling that's on my bucket list. And I feel like I'm completing one of my bucket lists right now, with my show. Cause listen, I'm no Oprah or Gail, but I always said growing up, and I always had people tell me, you should have your own show. And I was like, I'm gonna have my own show one day. Da, da, da. And then boom, look at God. This is just a sidebar, but I'm telling somebody, whoever's listened to this, like, you keep hearing this voice, or like if you reflect back to your childhood, there are things that God spoke into your heart, into your soul, that you probably just thought, oh, it's just, I'm just being, no, like God actually meant for you to like manifest it and bring it to life. So I just want to encourage somebody, because there are things that I said to my 12-year-old self that I'm like living out right now. But yeah, that's just a sidebar. But yes, traveling, and what else? I've already jumped out of the plane. There's probably a lot more, but travel is definitely at the top of the list. I need to knock out some more countries.
Yeah, that was good because you already said something. I was going to have you say something to the people, but you've already said it. So that was good. So that means like when the Lord had me pass out my business cards when I was 15, 16, like I've been important for a long time.
You're so humble. What did he tell you about those Skittle suits, though? Those rainbow suits. What did he tell you about that?
To remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will. Huh? Huh? Oh, I stay ready. Oh, I stay ready. Oh, I'll do a new thing. Huh? Shall you not grow a beard? Shall you not?
Because if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Listen.
And that's another word, honestly. Like I say that jokingly. My cousin said she used it in a recent story and that the people loved it. But obviously, I can't take credit for that. But that is so true, because you have to think about it as like building blocks. Because everybody, I know you tease about the 10K followers. People don't understand how long I was sitting at 4 and 1,000 and 5,000. You have to have building blocks. So when I started writing for XO Nicole, that was a dream of mine. I was like, oh, I want to write for XO Nicole. But people don't understand, behind the scenes, I already had a website. I already had my blog. I was blogging. Nobody was looking at my blog. Nobody was reading my stuff. And then it goes on XO Nicole. People are like, they're sharing my stuff. They didn't even know, girl, that was on my blog about 2 years ago, but because people start to like bandwagon, or they'll start to support you when you like put on that pedestal. But you still have to, it's so important to have those building blocks and to just start where you are regardless. So if all you got is a microphone and whatever, or your computer or Instagram Live, just start somewhere. That's what's most important.
Yeah. When the microphones are off, when the cameras are off, when you're not in front of your set, what is your downtime look like? Your favorite thing to do, your favorite thing to eat? What is that?
One of my favorite things is we have our couch in our living room downstairs. If I'm cuddled up next to my husband, watching one of my favorite shows, preferably one that both of us like, so then he'll enjoy it more. Because he says I watch a lot of stuff he doesn't like. But if we're cuddled up on the couch, that's like one of my favorite. That's why I'm like, this is life.
Yeah. Yeah. If we would go to your car right now, what music is playing?
Oh, depends on the day. Today, it would be her's new album.
Okay.
Do you have an iPhone?
Is there another phone?
Yep.
I
Thank
don't,
you. And that's why we're friends.
I didn't know. There might be another one. I mean, I heard of green things, but I don't even know what those are. They're aliens that I've watched on screen, but
Why we're friends.
Jesus is coming back in that cloud.
Eric always makes fun of me because this is how church we are. Because you get in my car and it will go from Kirk Franklin, Donald Lawrence, maybe to Megan Thee Stallion. I don't know. It just depends on what day it is. But yeah.
What is currently on your nightstand that you can say on here?
My Bible and my journal.
Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. So I know that don't you cook? I think you cook. Don't you cook?
Yes.
Okay. What is your favorite?
We have a love-hate relationship at the moment, but yes.
Okay. So what is your favorite food?
To cook?
Cook, or if you just want to say eat, which one? Either one. Either way you want to.
One of my favorites, even though I don't eat it as much, was my grandmother's oven baked, not the pot, but oven baked pot roast. And I can cook with the trimmings, the carrots and the potatoes and everything, onions and season. I can do that. Haven't cooked it in a while because I try to avoid red meat sometimes. But that's one of my all-time favorites. And my mom's mac and cheese.
You've mentioned your mom a few times. I think that Miss Vivian is one of my favorite people in the entire world. I know no one who has consistent joy. She just is constantly, and she might be other way, I don't know. But when I see her, she is constantly full of joy. She's the only person to date that I know the secret behind her praise. Back in the day, long time ago, picture this, Cicely, 19, whatever, a long time ago. I remember when we used to do choir workshops. And we did a particular choir workshop and your mom was singing in the choir. And I mean, she always expressive, always using her hands. She did hands before the choirs did hands. She's always been whatever. And I just didn't understand them one day after a rehearsal or something like that. And I said, you always got your hands up. She said, let me tell you what's on my hands. And I looked and she had a black marker of the words on her hands. So while she was doing her hand, she was just like... I was like, I'm sitting here thinking it's a praise. It's your cheat hands.
I've never forgotten that story ever.
That has given me life for many years. I have never, every time I see your mom, I think about her hands every time. She has given me great.
All the more. She's like, Mario. Especially when she recently got to see you, she loves Mario.
I love her. Who rather, would you meet or interview, have an opportunity to interview or talk to or be around that would probably make you speechless at first?
Oh, that's pretty easy. Probably Beyonce. Yeah. Beyonce, obviously Michelle Obama. It sounds cliche, the regulars, but her, Michelle, not Michelle Obama, although I did recently interview Michelle Williams, but yeah, I think that would. But you say speechless, but a lot of times with celebs, I just treat them like I know them already. It's like, hey, girl. But that's part of me, like trying to overcome my fears and like get over the anxiety. It's just like, yes, like I'll just act like I know them.
And inwardly, you'd be like,
yes, yeah.
And I think, a lot of them, honestly, want to be treated as such. Like
Yeah.
they really want you to level them out quickly and get over whatever you got real fast, because you're gonna miss a moment.
Yep.
Keep them there. And a lot of them, when I've met different people, they really are just like, I'm just a regular person who happen to have a moment or constant moments or consistency or whatever, but I'm just like and I talked about that, and I think I don't want to make this longer than it has to be, but I talked about that with someone recently about, even for yourself, those people who are in rooms and making decisions and doing different things. When you go into these different rooms and spaces with other creatives or whatever, you find out that there are more people who are for you than are against you. There are
Yes.
more people who, when you get into the room, into these spaces, and those of us and those like yourself, like when I say 10,000, I'm not just, just saying it, whatever. It's saying it because there are many people who are influencers as well, that when you win and when other of our friends and circles have won, we're just like, of course, we're excited. We're not sitting here saying, what you doing with 10,000 followers, like you doing something. I'm like, no, the grind, things you've been doing for a long time. We want you to succeed and want you to. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just think that what, as far as these influencers or celebrities or whatever, the world has made them celebrities. They have always been human. They've always just been regular people who just kept doing whatever it is they were doing. So with that in mind,
Doing what God has called them to do. That's what we all have to remember. Those of us who aren't celebrities and stuff, whether you have a platform or not, we all, like we said at the top, we all have influence. The question is, how are you using that influence? And are you using what God gave you? Like, it's so sad to me when you can see the potential in people, and even when people see it in themselves, but they're like, I just don't know where to start. I'm that girl. I'm like, girl, this is what we got to do. Like, you need to activate your dream. Let's activate it, because people dream every single day, but that part of activating it and executing the dream and the plan is the only thing that makes the difference. So there's probably tons of people out there like, well, I don't know if I want to start a podcast or write a book or whatever. Guess what? Like, there's a lot of people writing books every single day, but the only difference is that they decided to go ahead and just start writing it. Period.
yeah, to all my LTs out there, those people who are creatives, those people who are on the side, you've dropped so many jewels, so many. But if there is another one that you have to speak to creatives, to speak to people who are in their headspace right now, as well as those who think that relationships, marriage, or singleness or whatever is a struggle by yourself, speak to them and give a word to those people that are listening or watching.
That's good. Well, first, for the dreamers and the creatives out there, the LTs, the LT family, like I said earlier, you have to start where you are. I think Issa Rae is such a great example of that, of just starting where you are. Does that mean you're going to have a Issa Rae life? Who knows? Because, it just depends on what God has called you to do. But if you focus in on the gifts and the passion that God has placed within inside of you, that's where it begins. Not what someone else is doing, not what you think you should be doing, but what has God called you to do? That's where you start, because otherwise you'll find yourself trying to manifest a life that's not even meant for you, and that looks nothing like what God has planned for you. For those who are either in the relationship, maybe you have the relationship woes, we'll just say that, or you may feel alone even if you are married. Like, please know, like, find your community, find those, like, some of us, you might be married, you might be the only married person in your like core group. Find women who are like-minded. I just met a ton of fabulous wives this past weekend through a group that I found on Instagram. Obviously, we have the Wives Wind Down family, which is for married and single women, because even when you're single, you might think you want to get married, and then you might be like, well, maybe marriage is not for me, or maybe I'm thankful where I'm at right now. But it's all about being at peace with where you are and being right where God wants you to be versus where you think you should be, or doing, or with someone you think you should be with, that the Lord didn't send for you. So I
My
would just say,
Lord.
listen. So I would just say, find your group, whether you're single or married, find your people. There's plenty of resources online. Find your people, find your family. And that's for creatives and those in relationship stuff. Find your people.
Yeah, that's good. Let all the people know how we can make your followers 11,000. Tell them where they can follow you, where they can find you, where you're at. I mean, I know you have a handle everywhere. You're probably TikTok. You're still probably on Black Planet and MySpace and all those different places. So let the people know where they can find you. They already know that you were chaste and pure before you got married. So let the people know how they can stay the same.
I can't. I can't even take it.
Mama always told me something's wrong with me, so I'm just feeding into what she said. That's why I'm in therapy, because of
I'm
what
like, you already know these things. Like, you already know this is you. You are crazy. First, let me say thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for just being you. You've been Mario, and that's why I'm glad our friendship has lasted as long as it has. And
Millions didn't make it, I tell you.
Listen,
Go ahead.
And I'm just thankful. I'm so excited for you. I wasn't surprised when you told me about your podcast. I was like, boom, yes, let's go. Let's make it happen. So I'm so excited for you. I'm here to support. People can follow me on Instagram at Shonda B White. And I have a Facebook page, Life and Love, Shonda White. And of course, my website, shondabrownwhite.com.
All right, LTs, you got it. I'll see y'all soon. Bye. Thank you again for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, or even rate this podcast wherever you're listening to it, or comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And remember to share it with whoever you know needs to hear it. Until next time, breathe in, be the best version that you can be. Everybody else is taken. And remember to embrace your own unique design. I promise you, somebody will see you soon.